back to the Titans of Food Service podcast. I appreciate you joining me here today. Today, I welcome the CEO, Javier Vasquez of Miguel's Junior Restaurants. We go over what it's like to run a family-owned business for 50 years, all the lessons learned along the way, building an advisory board. I think this episode is full of so many great nuggets. Get ready. It's a great ride. Thanks for joining me again. Let's jump right into it. Javier, welcome to the Titans of Food Service podcast. I'm so excited that we're able to connect and get you on the show. I really appreciate you taking time to meet with me.
No problem. Thank you for the opportunity.
Of course. So maybe we start off with a little bit of background on yourself. How did you get into the restaurant industry?
I was born into it. My parents started Miguel's in 1973. I was born in 1974, so my parents, as the small business owners, they didn't have the luxury of having sitters and that. So they had my brothers, older brothers and sisters, and myself, and customers. So I was, there's customers that tell me stories where they would take care of me while my mom was working in the front of the restaurant. And my mom would always tell me she had my basket underneath the cash register. That's why I'm good with numbers. But
nice.
So I started off at 11. And then, born into it. But my first job at the restaurant was I was 11 years old. And then my parents, my oldest sibling started at 9 years old. My mom said I deserve a break, so my dad said 11.
I love that.
There you have it. So, it's my DNA. So I really just in their blood. So it's all I've done for most of my adult life.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually work with my dad. I own a family-owned business as well, and we started back in 2015. And we're a food service brokerage company, and we're based here in Southern California, Northern California, and Nevada. So I understand working in a family-owned business environment and the pros and cons of it. How's your experience been working with family?
Well, I had a conversation yesterday, and it was interesting. Is that sometimes it's good, sometimes it's difficult, sometimes it's great. But you work together a lot. So when it comes to traditional holidays, family holidays, or traditional things like hi, we see each other again. So it works out for us. Each of us have our own discipline where we work in, so we're not all all over each other in one restaurant. And so we were able to do our own areas of influence and work together. And we formed a company organization. I'm CEO of the company, and my sisters are vice president. So we applied more of a corporate structure to how we grew the business, and that's been cool also. And we have monthly meetings as a family, and those kind of things. And so we try to communicate as much as possible. But like this week, we're celebrating my mom's 80th birthday. She's still active in the business. So,
congratulations.
So she's, she still does recipe development for us, and those kind of things. My dad's passed a couple years ago, but
I'm sorry to hear that.
He was, wasn't very healthy toward the end of his life, but he was very active in the business also.
Yeah. How does your day-to-day role in the business look from your siblings? I think you mentioned you had 3 other siblings.
So I'm the CEO of the company.
Yeah.
My brother oversees. He was in director of operations for many years, and then he decided to transition to oversee new development and construction of new restaurants. My sister Sylvia, we're a commissary model, or central kitchen model. So we centralize most of our food production. She oversees that facility. And my sister Carol, she works in the accounting department.
Okay, nice. So you started in the business when you were 11. And what were some of the initial things you did? And then how did you get from that point to where you are here today?
Well, 11. So my dad was a believer in starting from the bottom. So my first job was a dishwasher.
Yep.
Way up, and I was a store manager when I was 14, not by choice, just by coincidence. And my first job was 14. And then my parents were always believers of education. So when they opened Miguel's, they didn't really open Miguel's. Their intention wasn't to have a chain of restaurants. Their intention was to put us to college. That was their
Right.
goal. So they did that. And so when I graduated from USC, they were expecting me to go work for someone else, do something different. And I chose to come back to the family business, which created some anxiety for my mom, but she was fine with it now. Because really, my dad's like, "What I do with I only have 6 restaurants, and I have 4 kids now. How I manage all this?" And I said, "Well, the way to do is to grow." So we decided to grow the business. So because when I graduated, they basically said we're, done, we don't need to grow a business anymore. We have enough, and we're fine. And accomplish what we set out to do is put the kids to college. So that's what. But I felt that when I graduated, they had a great business. They had a lot of fans, raving fans, great business. And I thought to myself, why would I go work for someone else to do the same thing for my company if I can do the same thing for my own family?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's why I
Yeah,
decided to
totally.
come back.
So you started. So at 14, you became the store manager. What was that like at 14
Right.
years of age?
It was interesting. It's difficult at first because 14, I was a tall kid, so it helped a little bit. But it was just a summertime, so it was only 3 months, and
Okay.
as people, the first the employees didn't really listen to me because I was a 14-year-old kid,
Mm-hmm.
and so my dad had come and how to help me reinforce some of the rules he wanted done. So and so back then it was a little different than now. You can be a little different with employees. So and that helped a little bit. But I had the best toys on the block. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I think I want to say $1 an hour. I don't know. It was a number. It was enough where I would he required me to save half of it,
Mm-hmm.
and I could spend half of it. So I would go spend half of it on toys and whatnot. So that kind of thing. So by the time school started, I had the best toys and best toy collection around because that's how I do my money. Is half of it was savings and half of it was with toys.
Totally.
But
What were
then
some of?
then
Oh, go ahead.
I graduated. So throughout high school, I still worked in different capacities. But my parents really want all of us to. Education was a priority.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. My father, he somewhat similar, him and his brother, when they were, I believe, 14, 15, 16, somewhere in there, they got their first job working at Bell's Christian Meats, which was in Huntington Beach. And it's no longer there, but it was a meat market. And so
Mm.
him and my dad and his brother worked in that meat market all the way. I believe probably started in junior high school through high school. And from there, my dad branched off and went to Cisco, and my uncle went on to open up other meat markets throughout Orange County. And they definitely, between the two of them, the value of hard work. I mean, they are both very dedicated to what they do, very hardworking. And I think that those lessons that they've learned through their career and through their lives definitely pours into me as a millennial, in the workforce for about 8 years now. So it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, things change and things evolve, but your roots are the same. But the foundation always helps you, make decisions moving forward.
Yeah. I love that experience that you had too. I know you at 14 being a store manager and managing others. What was maybe like an early lesson that you learned from doing that?
I think even to this day, if you explain to the reason why you want something done, that's more helpful than just telling them to do it and those kind of things, and then being respectful of just their time also. So
Hmm.
scheduling properly and that kind of thing. That was our at that time was the busiest drive-through we had. So running a busy restaurant is actually easier than running a slow restaurant because you have volume of people. You can
Right.
schedule people, but it was interesting because customers would ask the manager, and I'll say, "I'm the manager." Like, okay, we're like, look at me, okay, kids, where's the manager? Like, I'm right here. How can I
Yep.
help you? Once again, it's a little shocking, but it was, and then some people actually thought it was cool to see that. It was like, hey, cool, hey, dad's giving you an opportunity, and I'm just here for summertime. That's it. Because
Hmm.
we had a lot of customers, so they knew exactly who we were, my dad was, and like that. So just customer service. He always built. He wasn't much of a service person.
Hmm.
Frank, he was more of a great food and fast. and if you happen to smile, that's okay. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So he was just built on speed, and that's what kind of ingrained in us in a drive-through environment. We're fast.
Right.
And most of our competitors, not before the pandemic, a lot of our competitors, their volume of drive-through was 50% or less. We were at 70% for years. I thought 70% was like slow until I thought looking to other competitors like, oh, that they're at 60, 50, and or we're at 70, 75. So anyway, so that taught me, friendly, you gotta be quick, fast, because your interaction with customers is pretty brief, and then employees to do that and whatnot, and create a culture that they want to be in and have fun and this kind of thing. So that still resonates now. I mean, now it's even more so than any time, is having a culture that people want to enjoy, expand themselves. We've grown our business, so we have a lot of long-time employees that work for us, but we're still consistent with the food and our speed of service.
Okay, nice. I'm very, very familiar with your concept. My mom lives right across the street from your Tussa Marketplace location, and just ate there a few weeks ago, and been to your location there on, was it Newport and 17th? I think the city is Costa Mesa, or maybe it's technically Newport, but
Costa Mesa,
yep. So very familiar with your concepts. At the time when you started, when you're 14, how many units or how many locations were there?
We had, I want to say we had 4. Yeah, we had 4. So that's why my dad needed help because he was opening another restaurant, so he needed help. Running our best restaurant. So he's like, I need you here. I can't, my manager left him high and dry, quit, and so he's like, I have nowhere to turn to. I need some help here.
Right.
So I did it for a period of time. That way, my brother graduated from college. And he was coming back from college, so he had to hold the ship down before he took over. He came back.
Right. What is the dynamic like working with your siblings? I met other entrepreneurs or other business owners who, maybe the parents started or a parent started and then the kids came into the business. And I know sometimes there could be there's positives and there's, challenges as well. But what's that experience like for you?
My brother, I'm youngest of 4. So the question is always, how is youngest of 4 become CEO of the company?
Yeah.
My response was, well, my brother really wanted to focus on having a family.
Okay.
And, he has 5 kids now, so that's a lot of work. And my sisters they wanted to be involved in the business, but not necessarily lead the business. So, and I told my father that that's what I wanted to do when I graduated from college, is lead the business. I wasn't interested in necessarily just being a part of the business, is leading the business. So, I said, you paid for the USC, so you got to get your money's back somehow, correct?
Right.
Because he did pay for USC, which was at the time. Now at the time it was a lot of money to put out.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, let's see what he paid for, and then that's how we approached the opportunity. Now I graduating USC and took over. I still had to work underneath him for some time, and then he became, unfortunately, he became ill, and he wanted to transition the business before he passed, because he was concerned that some of his friends have family businesses too, and then they pick their oldest son, oldest child, and then they pass, and then you don't know what happens.
Right.
But his logic was, I'm gonna see how you do, and say you're not doing well or you're struggling, then make a change. I go, that's fine. I can see that. So it's transparent. Now moving forward, I try to be. We're transparent with I applied corporate structure to our business. So we have standing meetings with my siblings, talk about the business, the growth, direction. Talk about the executive team and those kind of things. So I think communication is important,
Mm-hmm.
and good or bad communication. And sometimes it's not good, sometimes it's good, and constant feedback. Does it sometimes, when things aren't doing well, does it put awkwardness in family life at home? Yes, it does.
Yeah.
You can't deny that part of it. But we've if you just take a step back, we've been working together for over 30 years or more, in that capacity, correct? I mean, come and
Right.
go. My sister always tells me she's like, I won't say her age, she'll probably kill me, but she's been for 45 years. And everyone's like, look at her like, how is that possible? And she's like, I started when I was 9. Oh, okay, okay. That, they're okay. Because you always say that. If you put on, I've been doing this 30, 40 years, you're like, you must be 80 years old, but then you start at 9. So we've seen the business grow. I mean, do we agree 100% with what we do? No, I think it's not. But we work together well enough to understand what the direction is and what we want to do. So when we make big decisions, it's a family decision.
Yeah.
So, like for example, we're opening 2 restaurants this year. It's a family decision. Say, do we want to do this or not? Because it does put pressure on everything to open. But this business is built to survive, outlast us. That's the intent.
Mm-hmm. And I don't believe you have a franchise model. I believe all locations are owned by the company.
Correct. Yes.
Your central commissary, is that based probably maybe in LA or Orange County, maybe Inland Empire? Is Corona?
Yes.
Does it have the capacity to scale to more locations? Is that something you're looking to do? I know you have 2 more upcoming, but expanding further after that.
So my dad started the commissary model. That's what it's called. I know the word commissary sounds cold, but technically that's what it is.
Yep.
We actually rebranded called Mary's Kitchen.
Okay.
Because when we do training and immersions, we change the name because when you hire someone, your immersion is tomorrow at the commissary. Okay, where am I going? Like,
right.
And so what my dad built the first commissary because at that time he had 4 restaurants, and he was like, customer would come to him, oh, I like the food better here. I like the food better here, and he's like, well, I need to standardize this because I can't have that kind of inconsistency. And then I built the second commissary in 1998, and I built this last one. And so every time we build these commissaries, it's a capital intensive to do this.
Sure.
And so we're outgrowing our one I built in 1998, and I to my family, okay, if we really want to grow Miguel's, we need a new commissary, and it's going to be a financial commitment. It's going to be a capital drain on us for some time, but we need to build to grow. So the current commissary we're in has capacity to do 100 stores.
Wow. Would you ever? I believe you're just in the Inland Empire in Orange County. Would you ever expand into other counties or out into maybe other states in the future?
In the near future, no, but yes, in long term, yes. So right now we have plans to go into obviously Orange County and Riverside County, continue growing there, but we have plans to go to LA County and then San Diego. So LA County, we're going to Upland. So
Okay.
on Upland's, 1 block away is LA County. We're getting closer and closer to doing that.
With your concept, is the food that you serve today still the same or a similar menu and same food as when your parents started the business?
The core menu, yes. 2 proteins. Well, actually, just 1 protein that we have. The tribulate pork is original protein. The other proteins have been added over the years. The original restaurant, the one that I managed in Corona, has the original proteins still. But over the years, we added chicken. I know it sounds weird, but we added chicken. You added shredded beef and steak and those kind of things. But over the years, the original one is the pork, and then the Chile Colorado beef is original at the one location. But the bean recipe, the technique's the same, taco the same. We did something recently, a cheese crisp that we had forever on the menu. So yes.
Nice. And when it comes to speed, you mentioned speed and quick service to your consumer. What is it that helps you gain that speed?
Well, initially it was just having great employees in the back of the house, make quick. But I think over time we're investing heavy in technology to help us with speed and help us with ordering in advance. We have a tablet person in drive-through and those kind of things. So when I was younger, we used to take orders by hand and drive through, and go outside, take orders by hand, and then bring it back to the kitchen and hang a ticket up. Well, we're doing the same thing with tablets. We have tablets. We process payment at the tablet taker and drive through, those kind of things. Now I know that there's other brands or technologies using AI and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're too small for that yet, but we have the capability to predictive ordering too. Not yet, but we can turn that on. So we are definitely investing in technology to help us for speed and accuracy.
Sure.
We can be fast, but it doesn't mean you're accurate. So we try to do both. And we just invested in labels for our food, and invested in technology, and continue to do that. So that's how we're able to do that.
Do you think AI will play a big part in the restaurant industry in the future? And how would that even look?
Well, what I've seen is initially just for um, advanced order placement. For example, it knows who you are. If you place the order, it can tell who you are. Place the order. You have the geofence around it. It pings and start making your food. Communicates with you back and forth. If you, I mean, McDonald's has technology. Come in, Nick. It recognizes your face. It tells me your last time. Do you want to repeat this? Yes, and move on.
Wow.
Our brand for our brand, we will get there eventually within a year. If you join our loyalty program and you are on your phone and it says this is your last order, is that AI? Do you want to repeat it? Is that AI? It knows who you are. It'll remind you you haven't been to Miguel's in a while. Those kind of things. So for a brand our size, we have access to that technology. So I imagine other brands can do it faster, and we can't scale faster. So we don't lead the pack. We just follow the pack and what's going on, and see how it can adapt to us. I think what COVID did is it allowed small brands to get access to technology that wasn't necessarily available prior to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
A
I think
lot of tech companies wouldn't talk to any brand under 50 units, and now it's changed. Now I mean, I'm 22 units, and I get good service. So obviously, we get next year, you get different kinds of platforms, but I can get access to technology that Taco Bell has access to. That wasn't really prominent pre-pandemic.
on the pandemic, do you think that the pandemic really sped up the rate of innovation on the technology side for restaurants?
Oh, of course. And then also I mean, I was at a conference, probably 2 or 3 years before a pandemic, and a gentleman stood up and said, "Technology," because this is when Amazon was eating up retail left and right, and
Mm-hmm.
retailers went out of business. Small business owners were like getting wiped out, and all these things were happening. And a gentleman stood up and said, "Technology will never affect the restaurant business." I go, does not sound right. Technology will impact the restaurant business in such a way that we have customer data that I never had before. I can segment my data, cut it, dice it as much as I can. So all that wasn't available to us, or it was available on a spreadsheet, and you had to dice and get to it. So, I mean, all that's changing so fast. So, and then another thing that happened is that you got a demographic that maybe traditionally wasn't an online order customer. Now they've been disciplined in order. Now they know how to do it. So that's expanded. So it almost has gone to a point where a customer expects it, and if you don't have it, then you're like, something's wrong with you. Like, what's wrong with your brand? You don't have so our online ordering system is not very good. We're about to relaunch it because we launched it during the pandemic because it was necessary, and it was okay. But now that every brand has online ordering for the most part, and if you don't have it, it's like, what's wrong with you? So I think customers are kind of accustomed to it. And I'm a small brand still, but I'm not. But from the customer perspective, it's their phone. They want to order online, so we are relaunching it again. But yes, that's changed a lot. You got people who traditionally were never an online customer and now are.
Right.
And so, yeah.
I grew up in Tustin, and there was this restaurant off of 17th Street, and this was probably back in around 2005 when Palm Pilots were popular. And I remember you walk into the restaurant and you ordered on a Palm Pilot, and then you go sit down, and then they'd bring the food out to you. But there was a lot of glitches with the technology at the time, and that concept didn't last that long at all. But it was so far ahead of its time. I don't think it really had adapted at all with the consumer base, but now there's a lot of that, and kind of what you're alluding to.
Correct.
How do you? Let me take a step back. Me personally, I'm a 30-year-old entrepreneur, and I went to Chapman University. I got a business degree from there, and it was a great experience. But I found, between then and now operating a business, that I've had to do continuous learning. How have you been able to educate yourself and learn how to do the things that you just talked about?
So a few things. So good and bad. I been working for my family business since I was a kid. So
Yeah.
it's bad because you've been working for my business since you're a kid. So how do you educate yourself? How do you push yourself? Obviously I was at USC. That was helpful for
Mm-hmm.
that big step. You surround yourself with other business owners. But then how do you continue to educate yourself? So I'm a big advocate of reading books and learning that way.
Mm-hmm.
Over in 2018, I formed an advisory board.
Okay.
And advisory board to help me develop my skills as a leader and understand as a CEO. I know, and I know that if I want to grow my business, I had to change how I approach the business, how I manage the business. But like you said, I'm not going to quit my business and go get an MBA or go to school because I don't have the time. So the second thing is advisory board. I know some business owners have joined like companies like Vistage and those kind of things.
Yeah.
But financially we couldn't afford it at the time. So I did the advisory board, and my advisory board is composed of someone from the finance world, someone from the HR world, a restaurant person, and so the restaurant, and the third person is a CFO person. So I kind of hit all the disciplines that I need to help and develop, and that so they each help me differently in different skills. And so that's how I was able to get to educate myself, and then also continuous reading and those kind of things. So in our organization, the leadership team is required. Well, I didn't say required. We read a book a quarter,
Okay.
and so and the leadership team picks a book. So every quarter, and a book club per se, and then depends on the tier of the organization. Either it's a senior leadership team, and the leadership team is required to do the book. And then if it's something we feel that it's worthy, then the general manager is also. So we're constantly trying to be a learning organization, and that's what we're trying to do, and that's how we do that. So some organizations have a lot of training department. That's what they do, but we don't have that resource. So I go to books, which I think it's been fine so far.
Yeah, that's great. The people on your advisory board, you mentioned someone in finance, HR, are they within the restaurant industry or outside?
No, no, only one restaurant. So one person in the restaurant industry, and the rest are not, and that did it intentionally.
And what would be the reasoning behind doing that?
Finance is finance, correct? You have a
Sure.
product, something, your whatever it is, your business, my business, where it's all about finding resources and money to grow your business. That's the intent behind that. People. We're in the people business. So how do you manage people and those kind of things? And the CFO is how to present your financials to a lender or to a third party for funding. So that's how I do it. I mean, the restaurant person is he's this individual started restaurants, grew 'em, so he knows how that works, and so that's an intent. And then they each have a different perspective on technology, how you utilize it and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's how the board was composed.
That's very smart. It's an advisory board is actually something that I've considered for my business and how I'd structure that. I really felt, really from 2020, since the pandemic, for our business, we're a commission-based business, and let's say we're selling an ingredient into your commissary, and your sales go down, so my commissions naturally go down with it. And we sell into restaurants, casinos, hotels, healthcare accounts, college universities, you name it. And But it was in that time where we went through a lot of turmoil, just hanging on, just surviving till now, where I really felt like I've started to become an entrepreneur. And now I've gotten to the point where it's time to scale up to the next level.
Yeah.
And I feel like every time that my business moves up a level, it has new challenges. And I've kind of come to realize what got me to this place that I'm at today won't get me to the next place, to the next level after that. How have you seen yourself?
Sorry, was the last question cut off a little bit?
Yeah, how have you seen yourself evolve over time?
Well, the advisory board is great in a way if you listen. And so they, there's
Sure.
hesitation to ask someone to be on an advisory board because the first one I asked is like, I love it, I'll do it, but are you going to listen to me? And go, well, why wouldn't I? He goes, well, I've been on boards where you can tell CEO X, Y, and Z, the CEO does something totally different, and it's a waste of time. So my advice, they're surprised how much I actually listen and follow through what I'm doing, and you know they their advisory boards they don't work it's a choice, correct, by both parties. It's not a
Right.
board where I can be replaced or fired, but it's their time. I pay them for it. Some do it for free, and it's a resource for me. So then I have to be accountable to that. So I look at it that way, how to develop myself, and I pose questions. So I had a very candid conversation with the advisory board, during uh, last year. During it's like, am I cut out for this anymore? And has the business outgrown
Hmm.
my skills? And they were very, they were kind of set back because they're like, you're asking us about your own skill set. I go, yeah, you're my advisory board. I need to be able, I need to be to ask questions. I need to be vulnerable to ask you anything, and your responses I have to either good or bad. I have to listen to the response and hear it. So and that's what the relationship with my advisory board has become, is they realize that I'm actually going to listen and participate and come with
Hmm.
good questions. Would you if your advisory board said your dad's got to go, just say hypothetically, how would you respond to that? Yeah, I mean, you know that's the thing. You got to be willing to do that. So my brother was struggling a little bit, and the advisory board said, your brother's struggling, and you need to talk to him about this and see how it's doing. And then my brother said, I cannot grow as fast as you want me to do it. You've exceeded my abilities. But that's the purpose of the advisory board, is that you have to have the ability, the strength to say, this is things are changing. So I mean, I don't know if that ever happened to you and your dad, but that's
Yeah.
that's that's the risk or opportunity. Let's take a look at it. What happens if you really if we really want a good advisory board? If you just want a sounding board, then your employees are your team is kind of a sounding board, correct? I mean,
Right.
you know, maybe your wife at home or your dog, but you
Yep.
know, that's
Yeah, it's running a business, I've definitely found really when we first started out, trying to make our first million a year, it was my dad and I, we did everything, from going out and selling our clients products to getting new clients to marketing. I mean, we did everything. And as time has gone on, we've replaced ourselves within different departments: marketing, customer service, administrative, sales, because we found other people that are way more qualified than we are to do those jobs. But I've definitely had the thought that in the future I will take this company as far as I could possibly go, and at that point my role will change, and it will be finding somebody that can take it and to the next level. I might have the vision, but the execution and the know-how to get to the next level is very difficult.
well, you might find yourself, you just need to surround yourself with people that know how to do it and understand, train you how to do it. And
Right.
the heads advisory board, correct? So, I mean, you'll find a good person on the advisory board will actually enjoy the role because
Hmm.
they want to. And sometimes you say you're 30 years old, you get someone that's in their towards the end of end of their careers. They've been through it, correct? They've made the mistakes. They did this. They did that. And that's there's value there, and
That's right.
that's why my advice. I have some people that they're not close to retiring, but they're close to retiring. And they said, I try this, do this, do this, do this. Watch yourself. You're aggressive. You're getting too aggressive right now. Those kind of things.
I'm curious, what's the structure of your meetings and maybe your cadence as well? How often you meet with
What
them?
advisory board?
Yes.
Twice a year.
Twice a year.
So
And maybe just like an all day.
Yeah. So we do after first quarter performance and after the third quarter.
Oh, nice.
And
I
so
like that.
they have access. So I had a little rough year, end of the year last year, and they point out some blind spots I had, and I had to address them.
Right.
And so, now my performance is better, and so now our meeting's in June, and there we go. So it's gone to the point where, and then I have two. Let me see, two of the board members. I have monthly calls with them.
Okay.
So that's another. Probably... So it depends on the need too.
In a way, especially those monthly people, almost seems like maybe a business coach or even a mentorship, which is, when I talk to a lot of successful people, they have mentors or coaches or, even an advisory board along the way that helps them get to where they are.
So I've explored the advisory board is one thing. I've explored the coach, and I am exploring hiring a coach for myself because I too have limitations and there as a coach. So if you think about it, if you play sports, if you do anything in life, you always have a coach, right? And then
that's true.
When you become a CEO, all your stuff you're by yourself. Well, who's your coach then? Yes, your advisory board is there, but who's coaching you to your skills and your things? And so I feel even especially you're 30, you have a coach, then the only person is going to set yourself back is yourself.
That's right.
And so I think the coach idea was presented to me because I have one of the advisory board members. His coach is my one of the advisory board members. His style has been tremendously. I mean, over the years. And I asked him, what's his success? He said, I have a coach. I go, what do you mean you have a coach? You know a lot. He's like, no, but I have a coach. And a coach is a coach. Calls you out, makes you do homework. I got homework to do. He holds me accountable, which is, a lot of CEOs don't want to be held accountable, but he holds me accountable and pushes me to the next level. So if he said, if I have a problem with my VP or something like that, we'll have a session with my coach. And it's different. So it's different than an advisory board. And so I'm exploring. I interview a few. Financially, we're a little tired now, so I'm gonna hold off. But I definitely will get a coach eventually. And a mentor. It's funny. The mentor coach, it's a paid mentor, a paid coach is different than someone that you can call and shoot shit with. Sorry, or shoot.
No, you're good.
A paid person is you're paying it. It's like hiring a trainer. You can hire a trainer, correct? Only benefit of a trainer if you actually participate. Same thing with coach. If you pay someone, they're going to hold you accountable. If you don't want to hold accountable, then you're wasting your money.
Yeah.
And so if you can click on it, and my coach I interviewed is not in the restaurant industry. I did not want a coach in the restaurant industry. I want someone that has a business acumen that can develop my skills as CEO that I can transfer. I think, I saw a product, correct? You saw a product. We all saw products. So why is restaurant industry specific? It doesn't have to be. Yeah. It's a person to help you develop your acumen as a CEO, because unless you quit your job today and go work for someone else, how are you going to learn?
That's right.
So I tie myself with that.
How did you find this business coach to interview?
Well, it's my advisory board. So the advisory board has two purposes: give you advice, correct? Wait,
yeah,
and also help you find people. That's their goal. If their best intention is help you develop as a CEO of a company or as a president, they should help. They should have resources for you also, not just their mind and say, "Oh, try this, call here, try this." So that's the other thing is if you do decide for an advisory board, form people that have contacts or resources. And nowadays, with being remote, they don't have to be in the same city, the same country, same state that you do. They can be elsewhere. They can be far away. And
Right.
because my advisory board is he is from California, but he lives in Southern California. South Carolina now. So he'll fly out, but for budget constraints, we'll do a Zoom too.
Right.
I think that the pandemic has definitely changed the world in that world too. The capacity, you don't have to have a in person. It's not, yes, in person is great. Don't get me wrong, but nowadays just jump on a call with Zoom and do it, and then they appreciate it too because they're not far out of the country, but they should have a resource for you too. Say, hey, I'm looking for a coach. Then they say, here's a couple of people I would talk to, and that's the other thing about advisory board. They should give you resources to learn. Taking seminars to them. Hey, you should go to this conference. This is helpful for you. I was at a leadership conference in UCLA that I was told to go because my advisory board invited me to that conference, and it was great. So that's the other thing. Yes, talk about your business, talk about what's going on in your business, but also as a resource for opportunities outside your business. That's why I didn't want 5 restaurant people on my board because we all be talking the same. How to think outside the box sometimes is more important than thinking about building the box.
Yeah. So how did you? When you kind of switching gears a little bit, when you started as the store manager when you were 14, you had 4 locations, and now you're up to 22. What was it? What was the process to go from 4 to 22?
First, we had to standardize so my parents, based their business success, their business on cash flow. If they have money in the bank, they made money. And so when I graduated college, I was, grew up, obviously 4 restaurants and worked in restaurants, but I knew the financials there were no financials. It's just checking in, money out, money in.
Yeah.
And I grew, when I graduated, I go, Dad, we need a balance sheet. He's like, what's a balance sheet? We need this, we need this. And, the time he had a bookkeeper working for him. And, I go, Dad, she's not qualified to do this, to grow. I was telling him, if you want to grow, so we had to standardize our operation. So we had to replace some of the people working for us, not externally. And then what I did that first, got financials, in a way where they're presentable to a lender. And then I also rebranded the company. I told my dad, my family, look, if we're trying to compete with national brands or regional brands, and a landlord or developers and look at us and say, who are these people? Great food, but look at they're kind of all over the place. I mean, my dad had like 5 logos. He didn't care. He didn't care. He didn't think that it was a big deal. So he just had logos. So I did that, and then so I started formalizing that. And then once that's all settled, then we started going to the time to the SBA and those kind of things. Because again, my dad didn't have, wasn't skilled in the sense of attracting debt, having gained debt. His debt came from individuals, or he would always mortgage his house. I mean, all the time. That's his thing. Take out, mortgage his house. So I said, well, we can't grow that way either. So we started working with lenders in the SBA. And the SBA, as you know, is a great program for small business owners. I encourage people all the time to still use them. It's a lot of work, but it's worth the effort if you can do it.
Sure.
And we outgrew the SBA, but now so we're actually trying to raise debt again as we speak. But restaurant business is hard to raise money for.
Oh, I'm sure. Is your equity, is it 100% family owned, or have you given equity to outside partners too?
It's 100% family owned.
Wow. I mean, that's a true testament to a business. I mean, you started in 1973 till today. What is that, 50 years?
Yes.
That is an impressive feat. 50 years this year, I would imagine.
It's this year, yes.
And that is an impressive feat, and there's only a few people on the planet who can say that they've been able to accomplish that. So congratulations to you and your family. I mean, that's significant.
Thank you.
I remember it was years ago when you opened up your Tustin Marketplace location, and I started to see your concepts pop up more often. It felt like it was all like at one time. I don't know if that was on purpose or if you had a growth plan. That's when those started coming out. Uh, um, but I've definitely really enjoyed your concept, and it's unique and it's different from what you see out in the marketplace. And I think that's probably what makes you such a popular concept and so successful too.
Thank you. I know the growth was, we went through spurts. Obviously we were growing, and then in 2019, then obviously the pandemic, then we stopped. So we're back when the growth came again. And what we learned during the pandemic is we're a convenient business. Everybody's on the go now. So we were building these large restaurants that we don't need to build anymore. So our new prototype is only, well, we haven't built a new prototype yet, but the new prototype we designed during the pandemic is 2,500 square feet. We're building 3,000 square foot restaurants. So one of our consulting teams that we worked with that does a lot of consulting for drive-through companies during the pandemic, they obviously lost a lot of clients. So they didn't have a lot of business per se, and they're located in California, and they do a lot of work for national brands and drive-through development and whatnot. And he said, "Hey, if you pay me, I mean, with some money, I have nothing to do. I'd love to work for you guys in this project." So we developed a prototype during the pandemic, and we actually had it built and everything. In the restaurant we closed, we actually turned it into a test kitchen, and so we built it inside there, and we've come to find out we don't need to have these big restaurants, so we can be more lean and more efficient. Again, we were going in that direction anyways, was because people were using us less and less for dining experience, and our takeout was growing. So even today, you drive through, takeout, 3PD, all that combined is 85% of our business leaves the building. So we don't need these big restaurants anymore and whatnot. So we designed it for attention of more convenient. We designed it for also for easier for employees and make things simple.
Yeah, totally. Have you ever opened a location and you had to shut it down and didn't make it?
We never opened because shut it down. Well, we have one full. Okay, so we have two concepts: Miguel's Restaurants and Miguel's Junior. Miguel's Restaurants,
Mm-hmm.
we closed one during the pandemic. We closed both during the pandemic and we reopened one. So that's when we don't think we're reopening it again. We have a couple of Miguel's Juniors that they did okay, but we won't close them. They did okay.
Gotcha. Because I would imagine that's it's difficult. You put your heart and soul into each one of these locations, and sure, I think and just in general, just anything in life, some will do better than others, and you never want to go through that. What are some of the bigger obstacles or barriers that you've had to overcome in your career?
Well, I think the one, obviously my dad passed was very difficult because of being a founder of an
Yeah.
organization. I mean, we all experience it, unfortunately, at some point in our lives, but a
Yeah.
little different when you work with someone differently because my dad taught me a lot about the business. It taught me a lot about construction, um, and those kind of things. So I've learned how to build. I built most of our restaurants. I'm not very good at it myself. My dad always makes fun of me because I can't build. I can never build it myself. I know how to do it. I know how to do it in theory. I can give some instructions,
Right.
but I can't do it. Um, so that was always difficult. That's difficult, and but
Yeah.
the difficult, is running a family business is difficult also. But it has good and bads, and then trying to keep and understand how to continue the culture as you grow your business. Um, I can grow fast, probably, but I will definitely lose the culture because it's a balancing act. Maintaining the culture, maintaining the family vibe, the family environment, the culture, those kind of things, and growing. So, we have employees that work with us a long time, and they have said, "Oh, things have changed, things are different." I go, "Well, yes, naturally, things are different, things have changed. It's just part of the way things work. We just the natural." So, we try to stay true to our core fundamentals, our food, the culture, but how do you duplicate that and how do you duplicate over and over? That's probably the most difficult thing to do. Building restaurants, I'm saying it's easy. It's very difficult to build a restaurant.
Oh yeah.
But I always tell people that's the easy part. The hard part is now opening the doors and having the culture and the customers come in and feel that. And so when you ask me, some of the failures is that when we didn't do a good job with the culture in the stores, and customers come and say, "Well, that Miguel's sucks because blah blah blah." I like this one better. I like this one better. And to this day, that still exists to some levels, but how to get a culture and duplicate it and grow and ingrain. When I hire that, we have 675 employees. So when I hire that 677 employee, how they get the culture from their first employee. In our industry, we have a low turnover. So it's common in our industry to have 140 plus turnover. So just do the math. That's a lot of turnover every year. We're at 60% turnover. So we have something going for us, correct? We have good culture, good things. So how do you maintain that? During the pandemic, it creeped up to 110, but now we're back to 60. And so there's that's a testament to our culture, correct? I think that's ultimately what it is. I mean, we pay, our pay is great, but there's competitors that pay more than us. We do a lot of things, a lot of benefits, but from if you're looking at just a paycheck, you can get that from any competitor down the street for the most part from higher than we do. But when it comes to culture, we that's one thing we want to, that's our competitive advantage, and so we want to keep that, maintain that. So I tell people, what's the job of the CEO of this company is to protect the brand and the culture.
Very well said. When my dad and I, when we first started, after about a year being in business, we had a couple, 2 or 3 employees, and we started to build the culture how we wanted. Sure, it's on a very micro scale, but we acquired another competitor of ours, and they had 6 employees, and we brought them over, and our culture had overnight changed. Our growth had definitely skyrocketed from where we were. We weren't very high anyway, so anything additional was a lot at the time. But our culture definitely shifted, and it took a while to undo kind of those negative cultural traits that we didn't want to have in the business. And so we said, when we open up other marketplaces, like we went over to Northern California, Nevada, and soon to be in Hawaii, we want to grow it organically. It's a little bit slower, might be more costly than going and buying somebody, but we want to build the culture our way. So I can definitely commend you on doing that.
Was Hawaii a office or a condo that happens to be
No,
an office?
It'll be an office for us out there, and it's a much different environment out there in terms of the broker environment, and we found that there's opportunity there. It's a different way of doing business, just like California versus Nevada. There are differences, but yeah, it'll be a new office for us for sure.
When I opened Costa Mesa, you're like, "Oh, you just want to be close to the beach." I'm like, "Sure,
yeah, sure."
But one thing to grow your business, you have to hire outsiders, correct? That's just
right.
You have people that homegrown, we have a lot, but really sometimes you have to hire that experience. And we do, depends on the position, it's a 2-week to a 6-week immersion. And the immersion is intended to get them ingrained in the culture. Because I know sometimes companies will have a 2-week process, week, and they say, okay, so like, for example, I hired a director of training from a competitor recently, and his first 6 weeks was in the field, and he had no phone and no laptop. So he had no email he had no official email and no phone. And I go, your job is not to work. Your job is to learn the culture. Because what I don't want you to do is come work for Miguel's, take the job, and then a week later come to me with some ideas that aren't going to work in our culture. So your job is to work the culture, work the people, get to know the people, then come and they're not used to that. They come from big brands where maybe they say it's a week or 2 weeks or a day or 24 hours or whatever it is. Obviously, you have this. You're a director of training, so you have the skill. I'm not questioning your skill.
Yeah,
I want you to spend time in different markets, different people. That way, when you develop programs, you're developing it for. And so, at first some people are taken aback by it, and some people are like, "Oh, wow, you guys are really do that." So we put our money where our mouth's at. So, for example, a general manager who comes from outside the training is 8 weeks.
Wow.
And so we're definitely, and I think that's not enough time, but we can't afford it. But I think it should be longer than that. But for now, it depends on the level too. So it's even we hired a intern, for example, started today. He had to work in the restaurants for 2 weeks.
That's a cool idea. There's so many businesses out there. There's no training. Maybe it's a one day, here's who we are, and go out and sell or do whatever the job is, and good luck. And it's selling yourself short as a company, and then also for the employee as well. And when we first started, that was definitely our motto: is we don't have the infrastructure to train anybody. Hopefully you can train us, and just put them out in the field. And sometimes a lot of times it didn't work out, or it took a long time for them to get up to speed for what we originally, thought that the role would be.
Correct. And the reason why we hired director of training, because our hourly employees training was designed as follow me, and you're a millennial. I can now hold it against you. Follow me doesn't work well with millennials. You have to explain to them why you want to do it, why it makes sense, and then if you explain the why and then the purpose it, then they'll do it. If you just say do it, that's not going to work. And a lot of our training was based on follow me and you'll learn, and we were struggling with that, and that's why I said we need a different approach. We need someone that has the technical skills to develop training programs that have the why behind it ingrained in the program, not just do it and get it done, because those days are over. Those days are long gone. If you really want to grow your business and get to activate the current workforce, you have to explain to them what the reason why they would do it. And if they understand it, they buy into it, they're very good employees. So I know there's a lot of misconceptions about millennials, and my conception is that it's a two-way street. The companies they're not adapting their training for millennials, and millennials aren't going to adapt to the old school training. So those are just two things that will not connect if you don't change it. So we find out once you explain why and to do it and understand it, then they do it. Correct. Wherever the task is, clean tables, taking cashiers, all those things, and then they actually appreciate it versus just doing that. So it was hard to get here, but we're here now, and that's why we hired a director of training, because he comes from a background of ingraining that in his training programs.
All right, we had some internet connection issues, and so we had to cut the episode short a little bit, but wanted to say thank you everyone for following along and listening. What a great story Javier, him and his family have built. Very successful CEO, and I'm sure the sky is the limit for what he and what his family can accomplish in the future. So really appreciative for having Javier join us, and stay tuned. More episodes to come. We do an episode every week. Please take a moment and subscribe to our channel. We're on Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, and anywhere where you can find podcasts, that's where we are. So please subscribe, give us a 5-star review, and we appreciate you so much.